safe to say over a long period of time that Miami's had the best players year to year, but they never break through. There's always somebody who jumps in front of them. Now they've got a stable coaching situation. Virginia Tech, unfortunately, they've been kind of a mundane team to watch, and they had a nucleus of quarterback Gerard Evans and some fleet wide receivers to make them exciting last year for the first time in a long time. And Gerard Evans should have come back, and we could have seen that nucleus again to a certain extent, even though they lost Isaiah Ford. But that's not the case. Gerard Evans is trying to make a team in the NFL. So Miami, Virginia Tech, the Canes seem to be the team that could possibly maybe pull off an upset, win the division and the ACC.
Yeah, you mentioned Gerard Evans and Virginia Tech. Had Gerard not gone pro, which I think was an absolute awful decision, I think it was a huge mistake on his part. I know that there were reasons outside of football why he did it. It didn't really matter. He made a mistake, and I think if you ask him, give him a drop of truth serum, he'd tell you he wishes he was back in Blacksburg because they would have been a top 10 team this season had they had Evans under center. With that being said, Miami's kind of in a similar boat. They're a little bit more experienced than Virginia Tech right now, but had they kept Brad Kaya around for another year, they would have probably been a top 10 team. They're probably sitting on the fringe between 10 and 15. I think you'll see them in most of the preseason polls, but it's up for grabs. And even though Mark Richt is at Miami, I still have a hard time trusting that program with expectations because as we've seen over the last 13 seasons, we've picked Miami to be in this position. I can't tell you how many times, and every single time they disappoint us. So even though Mark Richt is there, and I know that he's an established coach, he did very well at Georgia for a long time, he's done nothing at Georgia that's shown me that he's going to elevate Miami, I think, to another level. He's a good coach, but the problems at Miami run very deep, and they don't have an experienced quarterback. Nobody in the conference does, with the exception of really Virginia, and they're not going to be competing for the Coastal Division. We know that. So it's going to be an interesting battle. Virginia Tech has to go to Miami, which I think is the reason that you're going to see more people lean towards the Hurricanes in the preseason polls. But keep an eye on what Virginia Tech is doing because Justin Fuente is an extremely, extremely qualified coach at developing quarterbacks. He did it with Paxton Lynch. He did it with Andy Dalton. He's going to have whoever he goes with, whether it's Josh Jackson or Hendon Hooker, either one of them, the freshmen who are vying for that quarterback job. If he can get those guys up to speed, he's got talent on the outside. You just don't know about it yet. I think Virginia Tech's going to make some noise. It's going to come down to that game in Miami. Can they win on the road? It's going to be the ACC de facto Coastal Division Championship game.
Yeah, you're right, Josh. If Mark Richt's track record transitions from Athens, Georgia to Miami, Miami fans can rest assured it's not going to come off the rails. It's not going to be a deplorable situation there with the Canes, but he's going to churn out his 9-3, 10-2 seasons, and most likely every time he faces a talented team or a little bit better, he's not going to be able to win those games and win a championship, and that's of course what Canes Nation is craving at this point to get back to the elite of college football.